So let's start our class. So in the previous class, we have discussed the CSS flex, which was a way that we can create a responsive design. So today we will start CSS grid, which is a bit same like flex, but there's a difference. Which this grid you can customize more for your layout. So if we give some definition for the grid, so we can say grid is two-dimensional layout, where the previous flexbox it was one-dimensional layout. That means if I display a content by flex, it will become in a row. That means that we can say it is one-dimensional. So we can make we can change the direction of the flex. Either we can make column or row. There's no other option. So we can just use only one dimensional. That means we can display our content in a row or in a column. But the grid is two-dimensional layout. That means at the same time we display our content as grid, we have to give row and column. Okay, we have to give more specification. So even it is a bit easy when it comes to making responsive layout. For example, I have a content. Let's say we have 3 boxes. So in the large screen or in the desktop, I need to display all the 3 boxes in a row. But when the user visits my website in a tablet, I need to show each row 2 boxes, okay, or 2 elements or 2 content. So when the user visits the website in mobile device or small screen, I need to show only each row 1 box, and it will become 3 row, and each row will become 1. In a tablet it will become 2 row, and the first row will become 2 box, and the second row will become 1. So in large screen or desktop, all the 3 boxes will become in 1 row. So that is a way that we can make responsive. So in order to make that responsive, we can use the grid layouts. So how we can use grid layout? What are the roles? So as you already discussed in the previous layout, which was flex, in order to use flexbox, we mostly need, first of all, let's set flex container and flex items in our HTML or in our document. So it will be like same. It will be the same for the grid. So for the grid, in order to display some content for as grid, we need grid container and grid items in our HTML document. So what are the properties that we may need in the grid container? Because we have 2 elements, we have 2 HTML elements. One will be our item and another one will be our container. So in the container, what are the CSS properties that we can use? So in the container we can use the display property, which mostly we need in order to display our content as grid or flex. First of all, we need display. So in the basic classes of the CSS, we learned 2 basic display, which was inline and plot. And in the previous class, we have learned display flex, which will also display as one-dimensional layout. And today we learn another display, which will be grid. So the first element that we need in the container is grid, is display. So we can give the value of the display grid or flex or any other layout we need that time. So we'll use grid. And also in the grid container we need another 2 CSS properties. The first property will be grid template rows. As you already said, when we need to display something in a grid, we need to specify 2-dimensional layout. If it is 1-dimensional layout, no problem, we can just set flex, then automatically all the elements will display as a row. If we need to change from row to column, then there was a property that we use, which was flex direction. So we can change the flex direction. So in the grid it will be different. So at the time we said display grid, nothing will happen on the display. So we have to specify how many columns I need in each row. So first of all, we have to specify the size of my row. What will be the size of this row? So I have to divide. Let's go back to the HTML. When we need to create a table, what do we need? Table row and table columns, right? Without that, there is no table. So this will be the same. Whenever I said display grid, I have to specify column and rows. Okay, it will become at that time two-dimensional layout. So for the rows, we will specify the size of our row, and for the columns, we will specify how many columns I need to display in each row. So we have defined a row. We said, for example, our row will be 200 pixel. In that 200 pixel, how many columns I need to display? So we can set 3 boxes. Each row I need 3 boxes. Then there is a way that we can specify. So in the grid container, we can use another property, which is grid gap, which means if I need to give a space between the grid rows, so at that time you can use the grid gap. So that's all. So let's do practice for the container. First of all, we need HTML document and CSS file. So let's create one folder that we can include all that. So let's set inside this folder we have one HTML document. We can just set index.html as example, and also we need one CSS file. So we can create new CSS file. So we can set style.css. So these are the two files. So let's open these two in our code editor. So these are our two files. Okay, so let's create the HTML syntax first of all, and let's link our CSS file in our HTML. So we can use here the link tag, and we can write here style.css file. That means we have linked these two files. So let's set now, as the rule of the grid, we must have two HTML elements. One will be the container and the other one will be the items. That means we need one parent element, and inside that parent element we need the childs. So how we can create parent element? So we can use any HTML tag. We can use p tag, div tag, any h tag, any tag. Okay, so when you're using like this layout, when you're creating parent element and inside that parent you need to use HTML tags, mostly the developers use the div tag, which is just a placeholder. It doesn't do any change, but it will be as a rubber. So let's use that div tag. Let's set div. So inside this now can be our parent element or our container. So inside this div, we can use now different HTML tags. Let's use here another divs. So let's set this is the item 1. So let's set we have 3 items. For example, we have these 3 items. So now this is our container, and these are the items. So let's run this. So this is what we have now. We have here item 1, item 2, item 3. So first of all, we need to style these items. We need to give width and height, and we need to give a background color. So we can do that style in our CSS. First of all, we need to add here selectors. So we already know different selectors, as this and this have now div. So if you try to style div, all the divs will get the same style. So we need to give different class or different IDs. So let's give here a class. Let's set this class is my container, and these other 3 items I need to give same style. Okay, these 3 items I need to give same style, so I can give same class name. So we can give a class, and we can set item, and we can copy this class name, and we can give all the other divs. So this is just what we have. Okay, so let's style this item. We need to give width and height and also background, so we can set dot item as it is class. So we can give now width, we can set 300 pixel for example, and height of 300 pixel. Let's give background color of let's set black, or we can use the hexadecimal, which is 00. 00 means black. So let's save that. So this is what we have. So our text is also black, so we have to update the color. So we have to set the color will be white. If we save that, now the color is white. So now we have 3 divs. Okay, we have 3 divs, but there is no space, nothing, no problem. So we need to display this as grid. We need to display in a row, and each row we need to display all the 3 boxes. Okay, so how we can do, and where we can use the display property. So as we already explained, we will use the display property inside the container. Okay, we will use the display property inside the container. So we can go to our style. We have here parent element or container, so we can copy this class name and we can style there. So we can set dot container. So what we need to give, the first property will be the display property. First of all, we have to set display this as grid. So if we just set that, nothing will happen. But in the previous layout, the flex, if we just set display flex, then all the elements will become in a row. So you can see the difference. So why flex become in a row? Because it is one dimensional layout. Whenever we set flex, it automatically come in a row. But when we set grid, nothing will happen, because we have 2-dimensional layout. So we have to specify the 2-dimensional. So first of all, we need the grid template rows and the grid template columns. So first of all, we can set, we need to add here grid template rows, and we need to set, for example, 300 pixel. That means the row size. Okay, we have here, let me show you the example. For example, we said we have 1 row. So what is the size of this row? So we can say the size of this row is 300 pixel. So it will be like this, from there to here. So that means the size of this row is 300 pixel. So we can set 300 pixel. Then inside that 300 pixel, that means inside this row, how many columns I need to display. So we can set here, we need inside the row, how many columns we need, because here we have 3 items. Do I need to display all the 3 items in that row, or do I need to display only 2, or do I need to display only 1? So how do I need to specify my columns inside that row? So we can set here grid template columns, and then here we can use something called fraction. Okay, so we can set 1 fraction, which means 1 column, 1 item. So let's set, so it is that now in each row it is 1. So if we set each row 2 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, which means 2 column in each row, so it will become like this. So you can see this first row we have 2 items. Just here we have now 1 FR, 1 FR, which means this row of 300 pixel I need to display 2 items. we have one row. Inside that row I need to display two items, so we said one fr, one fr. That means in the first row we have two items, in the second row we have also two items. That means in each row I need to display two column, which means two fr. Or here we can set another one fr, which means all the three columns. So if we have more items we can add there. Okay, or what you can set, the first column, we can say the first column will take the size of two columns. So we can set in the first column make 2fr, which means the size of two columns. So if we just refresh that, so you can see it take more space. That means the space of two columns just make one. Or even we can specify a sizes like 300 pixel, 200 pixel. We can give different size for each column. Or we can use here 300 pixel for the first column, 100 pixel for the second column, and 400 pixel for the third column. So we can just set like that. So this one is 300 pixel, this one is 100, and this one is 300. You can see 400. So you can specify also size for each column. But the best way is to use the fractional. It will automatically give also space between the columns. So now this is the we can use the grid layout. For example, let's say we have more items. Instead of 3 we have 6 items. So then what will happen? So that means each row will take 3 columns. So we have here 2 rows. For each row we have 300 pixel, 300 pixel, 300 pixel, and each 300 pixel we have 3 columns. That we set 1 fr, 1 fr. Or even we can add here more. You can set another 1 fr. That means in the first row we have 4 columns. So what about this noise space? You can see there is no space between the rows. So if I need to give space between the rows, we have to use the third property, which is grid gap. So that means I need to give space between the grid rows. So we can go here in the container, we can add grid gap, and we can set, for example, 10 pixels. So if you set that, if you refresh, so you can see now we get 10 pixels between the rows. So this is how you can use the grid. But the most important thing is that we can customize this grid more when we are using the responsive layout, media query. So we will learn today something called media query. When we learn that, then we will learn how we can customize this in different screens. For example, now we are in desktop. Each row we can see 4 columns. If I go to different screens, so you can see now still it's not responsive. That means when I go to mobile device screen, I just need to display 1 column in each row. And if I go to tablet, then I need to see 2 in each row. So that is the responsive. So we learn that responsive when we learn today media query, something called media query that we can use in the CSS. So that is the basic about the grid. Okay, so now we have a project. In the grid, so let's use that in our project. So we have a project here. No, we can also add. So for example, we have here 3 items in our previous project. So let's add another 3 items, and let's use this time the grid, because this one we are using flex. So let's use grid now. So let's open this to our code editor. So here we have services, so we can add here, let's set another services. So let's set services 2, for example. Inside these services we have let's just set items. So inside these items we have each item, so we can set item, and let's just copy this style, or let's just use these services. So we can just copy this div and we can use in here. This is the first service, the second service, just copy there, and the third service. So if I save this, if I refresh, so now this is what we have. So let's display these services as grid layout, and let's display each row with 3 columns. Okay, so here we have now parent element or a container, which is now items. So we can copy this class name, we can go to our style, so we need to open the style file. So this was the style. So inside here we can add now the items, and we can set display this as grid layout. But now if we just set grid, nothing will happen, it will be the same. So we need to specify here grid template rows and grid template columns. So we can set grid template rows, we can set 500 pixel, and grid template columns we can set 1fr, just 2 columns, for example. So if you refresh that, so you can see we can only display 2 columns. So if we add here another column 3fr, so that means now we can display 3 columns in each row. So this time we will not get a space, because this was a space around of the flex. But this time we can set here, we can use margins, margin left, margin right, in order to give space. So this is the grid, by using the grid, and this is by using the flex. But the main important is that we can customize the grid. That means in this row we can display 2 or only 1, but the flex we can display 2 or 1. All the elements must be displayed in a row, or all the elements must be displayed in a column. But there's no any option that we can customize. For example, here we have 3 columns, we just set display flex, all the items go to row. But this one, in this row I can just set I need only 2 items. In this row I just need 2 items, so it will only come 2 items, the other item will go down. So for the flex we can do that, all the items must be displayed as flex. You can see there is no way I can customize the columns, but for the grid we can customize the columns, and we can customize also the rows. That means now we set 500 pixel for each row, that means it will take more space, more size. It will start from here to here, that means it's 500 pixels. So if we make like 300 pixel, so you can see there's no space. So that means each row will start from there to 300 pixel. So this is the size of the row. You can also customize the row, and you can customize the columns. That's why it's better for customization, the grid is better. So do you understand that? So that's the grid. So let's move on the next topic, which is transition and transformation. Another two CSS properties which will be used for making animation and 3D or 2D transformations. That means, let's set I have a box in my layout. So we can, when I hover this text, I need to change the background color. Okay, we have here a box. When I hover, I need to change the background color with animation. So I need to change in slowly. When the background is changing, I need to make it slowly. Or we have here a box. When I hover this one, I need to rotate the box. Okay, like 45 degree, 70 degree, 270 degree, 90 degree, 360 degree. So I need to rotate this box. So this time we can use the transformation. So when I hover this box, I need to make zoom in. For example, I have a picture, or I'm building e-commerce website. So when the user hover the mouse over the product, we need to zoom the product in order to see clearly. So we can add this time transformation. So for example, we have this box. When I hover the box, I need to move the box from its original position to another position. This time we can use the transformation. So all that is called CSS transition and transformation. So let's start with the transition. Transition means making or changing the property of the CSS. We need to change some CSS properties when a certain action happens. For example, we hover and move something, we need to change something in smoothly. Okay, for example, this is now a background color black. When I hover, I need to change the background color in a smooth way, in slow motion. So this time we can use the transition. So let's say now we have here items. Okay, a box. So all I need to do now, when I hover this box, I need to change the background color. So what we can do, we can add our CSS item. This one is the box. Okay, this is the box. So when I hover this box, I need to change the background color. So we can add inside this item the property transition. We can add here transition property. So in here we need to specify three things. So let me explain here clearly. So we need three values. First of all, we need property, we need duration, we need timing function. So what is the property? We said transition. After the transition, we need a value called property. This property we need will be the property that we need to change. For example, when I hover this box, what do I need to change? Background change. So the property will be the background, because I need to change background. Okay, the first value will be the property that you need to change. Okay, we said we need to change background color, so the first value will be background. After that, we need duration, how long this animation will take. Okay, or how many time this animation will go. So we have here, when I hover, I need this transition will continue within 5 seconds or within 10 seconds. So this time we need to specify here the time duration, which will be the second value. We set 5 seconds. Okay, so that means this background color will be changed within 5 seconds. So it will be slow. So if you need more slow, you can increase the duration time. After that, we need something called, the third value will be the timing function. How your animation will start and will end, or how your animation will take place. So here we have different timing function. We have ease, which means my animation will start slowly and it will speed up in the middle. That means when I hover the mouse, it will start slowly. When it becomes in the middle, it will speed it up. Then it will end in slow. So when we reach the end, it will become slow. There's linear, which means my animation will go through semi-speed. If you said linear, means it will start in semi-speed and it will end in semi-speed. It will go through constant speed. There is another one which is called ease in, which means start slowly and then accelerate or make it fast. Then ease out, start fast, and when it becomes end, make it slow. Then we have ease in, ease out, which means the mix of ease in and ease out, which means it will start slow and it will end slow. So we have all that different values for the how animation will go. So let's use here now ease, which is the first one. So what is the ease? It will start slow and it will speed up in the middle, speeds up in the middle, and it will end slowly. So when this transition will happen, so this transition will happen, so when we set time item hover, when I hover the mouse, then change the background color. So we need to change the background color to red. So if I save this, you go there, refresh. So if I hover now, you can see it will become, so that means it will start, we use now is, it will start slow, it will start slow, but in the middle it speeds up, and at the end it will slow down. So let's check that. So when I hover, it starts slow and it speeds up, then at the end it will slow down. When I hover out, slow, then make it fast, then end slow. So this is the transition. So you can use here different properties, not only background color. You can change more properties. You can use width and height. You can use color. You can use more properties. So let's change the color. For example, I need to change the color. So we can set color. So here we need to change the color text. So when I hover this box, color they change. Now the color is white. So when I hover, I need to change it red. So you can see it will change in slowly. So when I hover out, it will go to its original color within 5 seconds. So here now we can use different. So let's use this ease in, ease out for our timing function. So instead of ease, let's use ease in out. So if I save that, so let's hover, so it will start slowly and it will end slowly. So when I hover out, it will start end slowly. So this is the time duration, that means the animation duration. So we can use here 5 seconds, or let's set 15 seconds. Let's use more. So then if I refresh now, if I hover, it within 15 seconds it will finish. So you can see it will be slow. So when I hover out, it will change slowly. Yeah, it will take time of 15 seconds to finish this animation. So that is the transition. What about the transformation? So for transformation, we can also use different values.
What is the linear?
Linear means it will go to semi-speed. It will start in first speed and it will end speed. That means it have constant speed. That is the linear. So let's talk about the transformation. The transformation means how can I change the behavior of this element. For example, the behavior of this content. For example, we have this box. When I hover this box, I need to rotate the box. This time I'm changing the shape of the element. So this transformation will change the shape of the element. So for changing the shape of the element, we have three values that we can use. The first one is rotate, which means I need to rotate the element. The other one is called scale. Scale means I need to zoom in, zoom out this content. And the other one is translate, which means move this element from its original position to another position. All this happen by the transformation. Let's just, as a normal example, what is transformation? For example, someone said I need to make my body transformation. That means I need to change my shape. That is in the CSS. When I need to change the shape of the element, we can use the transformation. So how we can use this transformation in the code? For example, let's just set we have one div now. For example, let's set we have this div. When I hover this div, I need to rotate. So how we can rotate this? So we can set here, when I hover the text, then you make transform the element. I need to transform the element. So in this transform, we can use now the rotate value. So we need to rotate, for example, let's set 45 degree. So we can set here 45 degree. And let's close with semicolon. So this now I need to rotate 45 degree. So if I save that, if I refresh, so when I hover, you can see I am now rotating 45 degree. So let's rotate, let's set I need to rotate to 360 degree, which means full circle. So what we can do here, we can set 360 degree. I need to rotate 360 degrees. So if I refresh now, so let's check. Why it's not working? Let's set 90 degree. So it is rotating, but we can see because this element will go from that position and it will again return into that position 360 degree. So this time it is making fast. So it is making fast. What do we need to do? We need to make it slowly. So how we can make it slowly? We have already learned. We have to add transition. How we can add transition? So we set here transition. Instead of changing background color, what we can do? Change the transform. Transform. So that means I need to add animation for the transform. This animation will go 15 seconds. So let's just make 5 seconds, not 15 seconds. And the time will be the timing function will be ease in, ease out. So if I refresh now, so you can see now, we can understand now and we can see the result. So it is rotating 9 degrees. So let's make 360 degree. This time we can see, because we add animation, that will make it slow. So if we now, so you can see it is rotating 360 degree. So this is the transformation. So when I hover, it will rotate 360 degree. When I hover out, it will return to its original position. This is now that rotates. The second one was scale, which means zoom in, zoom out. So how we can make zoom in, zoom out? So for the transform, instead of using rotate, so let's comment. Now we need to use transform or scale. So we can use transform scale. So inside this scale, we need to give a value. So we can set, for example, 1.2. So if we just set 1.2, if we refresh, if I hover now, so you can see it will zoom in. If I hover out, it will zoom out. So this time it is making it slow. So let's just make 2 seconds. So now you can see it. This is called zoom in, zoom out. So this is the scale. The third one is the translate. We need to translate, which means we need to move this element from its original position to another position. So for moving the element, we need you already know when we need to move element from its position to another position, we need the 4 direction that we need to move the element. We know for the 4 sides of the element, the top, left, right. So when you use the CSS position, we set position element. After that, we need which position we need to move. Do we need to move from the left, from the top, from the bottom, or from the right? So we have to specify that, right? So here we can use 2 sides. We can set x-axis or y-axis. How many pixels or how many sides I need to move from y-axis, which means top and bottom, and x-axis, which means left and right. So we can set here instead of scale, we can set now translate. So we can set transform translate. I need to translate the element. So we can set x-axis and y-axis. So we can set for x-axis move 50 pixel, that means left and right, and 50 pixel top and bottom. So if I save that, if I refresh, so when I hover the element, so you can see from the top and bottom is moving 50 pixel, and from the left and right is moving 50 pixel. So that means we are moving the element from its original position to another position. So this is called the transform. So that's all about the transform and translate. And also we can mix in order to make 2D transformation and 3D transformation. We need to mix the transform. So we can use rotate, scale, and translate in one property. Okay, we can use all in one property. So for example, here we have transform. These are the 3 properties we have learned: rotate, scale, and translate. So we can set I need to happen all at a time. So we can set transform. I need to rotate the element to, let's set 45 degree, and also at that time I need to zoom in the element with 1.2. So let's just try this 2. So if I save that, if I refresh, so when I hover, I am rotating, and the element at that time is zooming in. So if I hover out, it will go to its position and it will zoom out. Also you can use here the translate. So you can set translate from the top, let's set 20 pixel, left and right 40 pixel. If you save that, if I refresh now, when I hover, so all that happen at a time. So that's, you can mix even if you need. So that is all about the transform and translation. So do you understand? So you can do practice with this from the grid, transition, and transformation, all these. So that's all about the CSS. So now we will learn how we can make responsive design. So we learn more CSS properties, we learn layouts, two layouts, grid flex, and we learn so many properties about the CSS. That's not all about the CSS. There are much more properties about the CSS, but in this course, that's what we have planned to learn. That was some of the important CSS properties. So now let's talk about the responsive design, how we can create responsive design. as we already created one simple layout like this one. If you check this, this is not responsive. As you can see here, if you go to mobile device, this is our website, and it's not looking good. So the question is how we can make responsive for every device, how our website will look like. So for making a responsive design, we can use different techniques. We can use media queries, which is CSS, or we can use layouts like flex and grid. We can use mobile first design approach, which means we can use some CSS frameworks like Bootstrap, Tailwind CSS, Foundation. There are so many CSS frameworks, but in this course we will learn one framework, which will be the Bootstrap, which is also known mobile first design approach. So how we can make responsive design? So let's say in CSS, for making responsive design, we can use the media query. So how we can use the media query? And what is the media query? So media query are CSS roles that we can apply our style sheet inside that role. For example, this rule is the screen sizes. For example, we have a rule. This rule is only the mobile screen. So inside that rule, whatever we write, whatever CSS we write inside the rule will apply only that screen. For example, we have a paragraph. We set we have a color, black color. We have designed a media query. We have a role for the mobile device screen. So we set in the mobile screen size, our paragraph color will be red, but in the desktop it will be black. So there is a rule, and inside rule, whatever CSS we write inside that rule will apply only to that screen size you have defined it in the rule. So what are the different sizes of the media queries? So these are the roles. First of all, we need to write at media, which is the CSS. So inside that media function, we have max width and the size. This max width means the size of the screen. When the width reaches the maximum size of 367 pixel, which means less than this size, this rule will apply any width that is less than this size. That means it will be mobile device screen. So inside this rule, we can now apply our CSS. So this CSS will only apply when our size reaches 766 pixel. So maybe you just get some confused, but when we do example, you will understand. So let's just tell here the sizes. We have here max width 767 pixel, which is mobile device, and here we have also max width with orientation. Landscape means when I rotate the phone, how my website will look like. So this is the landscape. And here we have tablets, which we have, it is between min width, that means greater than the font, and the max width is 1023 pixel. So we will define our style inside there. Yeah, it is fixed. So these are the size. You can follow this every time. And here is small desktops, which means the laptops. So this is the size of the laptop, the screen size of the laptops. And here we have the
increase the number, then it can work.
no, it will work, but this specific size we have planning. So this is the size. It's default. Everyone knows. Every developer knows this because it's common. And there is large desktops, which means large screens. This is the large screen, and also we have dark mode, which means if I have option dark, show dark, my website make dark or make light, so we can use all our CSS inside this dark mode. So let's set now. Let's just set. We have this box, or let's just make here we have more boxes. So let's make, we have 3 items, item 1, 2 and 3. We have these 3 items. So let's set now, this is now desktop, so I need to apply in mobile device. I need to display one box. Okay, in the mobile device I need to display one box. So what I can do, I can use the media query. So what is the media query for the mobile device? So this is the media query of the mobile device. So we can copy this, we can go to our CSS. In here we need to use the media query for mobile device. So now this is the media query. So the size is max width, which means the large screen size will be 767 pixel. That means any size less than any screen that's less than this width, it will take this style. So inside here now we need to use our style. So we already have here grid, so we have displayed this grid inside the container. So we can copy this style sheet, we can paste here, and we can set grid. Instead of 4 FR, we can just set 1 FR. In each row we need to display only 1 FR. So if we go to there, in the large screen we have 3, but if you go to mobile device, so you can see each row we have 1 item. We have 1 item in each row. So we make that by using the media query with the grid layout. So we said in each row just show 1 column. In the desktop version we set in each row show 4 columns. So if you have here 4 columns, if you have 4 columns, so this is the 4 column in the desktop. So if you go to mobile device, it will display 2. So let's make also this 2. Let's show 2 column in tablet. So we already know the tablet size. So we have here the tablet media. So we can copy this code. We can go to our style. We can paste in there. So inside this role media, what is the style sheet I need to use? So I need to display each row, I need to display 2 columns. So what I can do, I need to call here my container, and I need to change the grid template columns. I need to make 2 FR, 1 FR and 1 FR. That means 2 columns. So if you go refresh now it is 4. If I go to mobile device, it is 1. If I go to tablet size, it will become 2. So you can see that means all my website is now responsive. Okay, so it will become 2, it will become 1. So each size we have now specified. So even if you reach here, so you can see it's not responsive this time because this size is laptop. This screen size is now laptop. So we have to search the laptop size. We can go here. We can search the laptop, which is small desktops. So we can copy this. We can paste here. We can set in small desktops, make the container, the grid columns, make the grid template columns 3 FR. So we can set 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, which means 3 columns. So if we go there, now it is 4 in large screen. So if you go to, so it will become 2. So this is not the laptop screen maybe. So this is the medium desktop maybe. So let's make this medium desktop. So what is the size of the medium desktop? This one. Let's copy that. Oh, we make a mistake. We use media query inside another media query. So that is a mistake. So we can cut this. We can add our media query outside. So if we try now, if we refresh, so you can see 3 columns. If I go to template, 2 columns. If I go to mobile, 1 column. Template 2, media list, laptop 3, large screens 4. So this is called responsive. And also you can make also some elements display none. For example, we have here a paragraph. We have this text inside my website. So I need this text only to be displayed in the large screens. For example, if I give you one good example at Kaizen, as you can see here now, we have a video for large screen. If I go to mobile screen, what will happen? You can see there is no video. That means we have hidden the video. So how we can make that? So if we need to make that, we can use here, for example, we have here now a paragraph. So I need to display only this paragraph in the large screen. If I go to mobile device, I need to hide this text. Okay, we have now here a text. So we need to hide. So how we can do? We can go to the screen, mobile size screen. So this was the mobile size screen, the media query of the mobile size. So we can set here, call the paragraph and make the display none. So we need to hide. So we can set display none, which means don't display this element. So if you go to browser now, if I refresh, so you can see there's no paragraph. But if I go to large screen, there's a paragraph. So this is how you can hide something also. So the media query is very, very important. Okay. So now let's make our previous project responsive. So this is what we have. In large screen, it's looking good. Okay. But in mobile screen, as you can see here, it's not looking good. So what we can do, we need to make responsive. So like this, we need to make this element responsive. So we can, let's open to our previous project. Let's open the HTML and also let's open the CSS. So we don't need to make any change for the HTML. So we need to work on the CSS. So we need to add media query. So let's start for the mobile screen size. So we can copy the screen mobile. So this was the media of the mobile screen size. So we can copy this and we can paste here. So inside this media query now, for the mobile screen size, we can use more CSS style sheets. So let's set, first of all, we need to change the display of these services. So we need to set here the class services dot services. So we need to display as grid, and also we need to add grid template rows and grid template columns. So we need to set each row must take 400 pixel, and grid template columns, each row we need to display 1 column. So if we set that, so let's try now. This is our project. If I refresh, this is a mobile screen, the desktop is okay. If I go to mobile device, so you can see now we have displayed 1 by 1. So let's also make this one the same. So this one, we have also another class here which is called items. So we can copy this. We can inside this media query we can use more CSS style sheet. So still we need to style the items, so we can set display grid. The grid template columns I need to display is 1FR. So if I refresh now, so you can see now our website is responsive. Okay, so this is how we can use. Even for the navigation menu, you can hide for this menu, and you can add your icon. When the user click, then you can show. So for the navigation menu, you can set in the mobile media query, we can set the nav bar display none. That means hide the nav bar. So if you go to the browser now, refresh, so you can see there's no nav bar. Then after that you can add your icon. So this time you need to use JavaScript in order to add that functionality. But for now, that's enough. You can make responsive by using the media query. So even you can add your space, which is the items, I think these items. So you need to add your grid template rows. You need to add your grid template rows 400 pixel. So you can see now we have more space.
If I want to make a CSS program, that time I using the media grid, and that's not possible there.
Media query.
Media query.
It's possible. This is the media query. For this media query, you can use different screen sizes.
Different screen size and different CSS programming.
In this media query. So for example, now we have only one media query. Inside this media query, you can see we have more CSS, different CSS code. So here we have now display. For example, let's just set here we have services. So for the service 1, for the service, or for the service 2, I need to change the background color, for example. So here we have 3 surfaces. This service 1, service 2, service 3. For this service 1, if it's service 2, I need to change the background color when it goes to mobile device. So what we can do, we can copy that class name. We can go to our style sheet. We can set dot service 2, change the background color. So then we can give any background color. So let's set, for example, we need to give this Carol background. So if I save that, so now this is the service 2. So if I refresh, so you can see we get this background color. But if I go to mobile device, large screen, so you can see the background is green. But if I go there, it is Carol. So this is how you can customize. You can customize any CSS style you have by using this media query. So do you understand? That is good. So that's all about this CSS. Then we will start the CSS framework, which is called Bootstrap. But before that, we have a project here. We have here CSS project. So this is our project. I think it is very easy, very easy. So here we have navigation menu. We have already know this. We have here a banner. So in this banner you can use the grid layout to make like this. For example, here we have content this side, and this side we have image. So you can just create one container. Inside that container you can create 2 div elements. In the first div you can include this heading 1, paragraph, and this bottom. And on the other side, on the other div, you can set image. You can include image. Then you can set display grid, one FR, which means 2 columns.
If I want to use display flex,
You can also use display flex. You can also use display flex. And this one the same. You have 3 boxes that we have already discussed today.
but how can I radius in the dash icon?
This icon. So first of all, the question is how you can use icon. That is the question. So we will try to do this project in the class. Okay, we will try to do this project in the class. Then you can try after that. In the next class, we will work this project. And then I will assign you another project. Okay? Then it will be good practice for you. So that is all about the CSS. Do you have any question about?
No.
This is very easy, right?
Yes.
So then you can try